And a good Tuesday, everybody. Welcome in. Chase and Big Joe, 102.5 The Game. Alongside Dr. Crane, Nick Frazier, I'm Chase McKay. Brandon Bigsby, a.k.a. Brando, is back at the studio. Big Joe, with the day off, he'll be back on Thursday. And we are live today at the Old Ball Yard. First Horizon Park. Opening day at home for the Nashville Sounds. They've got 3 under their belt on the road, but it always feels official when you open up the home ballpark, and they'll be doing that tonight for a 6-game series against the Charlotte Knights, AAA affiliate of the Chicago White Sox. So looking forward to it, Nick. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. They have a lot of young prospects to look forward to. Obviously, they signed a big one this past couple of days ago, Pratt. I think it was 8 years, $50.75 million. Obviously, all that comes before the potential lockout that people are projecting. So that should be a fun one to watch him play in the middle infield and just some good baseball overall in Nashville.
Yeah. So it'll be fun, and obviously you can hear all the games with Jeff Hill, who's going to join us at 2 o'clock today. You can hear those on 94.9 The Fan. We're also going to be joined by Sounds manager Rick Sweet at the bottom of this hour. And with all the changes in baseball, looking forward to talking to Sweetie and getting his thoughts on the challenges that which they've seen in AAA with the ABS and just some of the prospects that they have here with the Brewers and the Sounds. So if you're watching on YouTube on the stream, you can see the ballpark behind us as they're getting it set for tonight. It's going to be a lot of fun. So Absolutely. Looking forward to that. Tim Hasselbeck also at 1 o'clock. So we'll talk owners meetings and all of that with him. And who knows what else we get into with Tim Hasselbeck. So that should be good. Everything good in your world? How you doing?
Fantastic. Everything's fantastic. I watched a little baseball yesterday after work, and then did a few little things in the yard. But overall, just kind of keeping up with everything. I mean, Preds don't play tonight, which is kind of weird. Normally they play on a Tuesday night. You just think, get ready for some hockey. A few days off. Yeah. I mean, I guess you get a few days off, but then you have the absolute murderer's row of just back-to-back games. So hopefully that works out for them. But overall, I mean, a little bit of murmur at the NFL owners meetings. So we'll see how that plays out the rest of the week. But overall, everything's peachy, man.
So we'll obviously talk a little owners meetings here in just a little bit as those are going on right now. I mean, nothing earth-shattering. We knew that the Super Bowl was going to go to Vegas in 2029. I know the Titans are making a pitch for the early 2030s is kind of what it's being, categorized at. They're going to get one. I don't know if it'll be 2030. It could be 2031. There's a lot of new stadiums that are going to be opening around the same time that could certainly be in the mix for a Super Bowl. The D.C. area, I think, would be one of them. But we know Nashville's going to get one.
Yeah, eventually. I mean, you also have Buffalo. You can't forget about them. And, I
don't think they're going to host one, though. It's going to be too cold.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I keep forgetting about that. It's in February. End of February. I keep forgetting about that. But overall, that new stadium, Highmark Stadium, looks fantastic.
It does.
I'm surprised at the quickness built that. I mean, minus, new Nissan Stadium being, built beforehand, starting the groundbreakings of all that. But whatever they're doing up there in Buffalo, kudos to them because that thing is up and running just about.
Yep. It'll open this year and going to be really cool, to see that happen. And obviously when the Titans get theirs going next year, it'll be even better. We will have your chance to win a 4-pack of tickets to see the Sounds in action against the Charlotte Knights, which will be on Thursday. So be listening for your opportunity to do that. Do you have our question of the day today?
I do.
Okay. All right. I'll give you the honors. You're in Big Joe's chair, so you kind of come up with that.
Yeah, we're at the ballpark today, Chase, and obviously everybody loves a good, Cracker Jacks or a hot dog or whatever it may be. What is your go-to ballpark snack? In honor of the Nashville Sounds opening day, what is your go-to opening day snack?
Well, it's about as American as you can get. Give me a beer and a hot dog, and I'll be a happy man.
Okay.
Beer, hot dog, and baseball. I have one of my favorite pictures that somebody took of me was at the World Series in Atlanta, and I'm holding a beer in one hand, taking a bite of a hot dog in the other, and there's baseball. So it's just it is about as American as you can get.
I agree. When I went to St. Louis for the first time back in 2012 to watch a baseball game at the new Busch Stadium, I've never seen hibachi on wheels. That's what kindled.
Wow.
Exactly. That's what kindled this question for me, because coming to a wonderful stadium like, First Horizon Park here, I mean, you got to expect some good food, obviously. You have the bandbox in right field with your great drinks, but overall, you're going to have wonderful food behind home plate. I'm probably going to, you said the hot dog. I'm probably going to go with the chicken tenders and fries. I feel like that's a go-to. You can't mess that one up. There are ways where you can, overcook the chicken tenders, but minus that, if they're cooked to perfection, that's the go-to snack for sure.
615-737-1025 is our phone and text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. And our question of the day, as always, is presented by Aries Tactical. Your safety, your skill, your Aries Tactical. First-time shooters, shoot for free. Just tell them that I, Chase McCabe, sent you, and you can check them out at AriesTactical.com. Your go-to snack at the ballpark. I have a feeling a lot of the same stuff is going to happen. 7636 says it's always a hot dog, slathered on mustard. If they have a chili dog, even better. Carol in Nashville says funnel cake. Carol from Bellevue, but not Chase's mom.
I'm about to say, wait a minute now.
Devin and Dixon, give me a beer, brat, and baseball, and I'm good. Brats are also good.
Mm-hmm.
The brats are, do we consider brats a member of the hot dog family?
I would say so. I would say that's the hot dog on steroids.
Yeah.
If that's a better way to put it. More beefier, has a little bit more girth to it. I'm wondering if you put like some relish on top of it, would you consider that, okay to do?
Oh, yeah. You can top it with what? Here's the thing.
Okay.
Joe Rexroad is going to tell you ketchup doesn't belong on a hot dog.
That's false, right?
And I think it's to each their own. I will put mustard and ketchup on a hot dog and be very, very happy.
I have seen some people put mayo on a hot dog. I don't know if you can do that.
I don't know if I support that, but again, to each their own, because there's different kinds. And we have all these, hot dog places now that will do some pretty crazy toppings on a hot dog.
Yeah.
But they're not bad. They're pretty good.
The gourmet hot dogs for me, like you wrap a hot dog in bacon, I'm cool with that. That's a giant pigs in a blanket, but in a hot dog form. I'm cool with that. Give me that any day of the week.
615-737-1025. Dustin in Hopkinsville says tendies and a beer. Absolutely. 9355. Cold beer and a bag of peanuts. Absolutely. Peanuts are also a go-to.
Mm-hmm.
Terry says, I had a hot dog off a guy from a rolling grill after the BCS championship game at the Rose Bowl. As hungry as I was, it was delicious.
When you're hungry, I'm telling you, everything tastes a million times better.
I will tell you this, in my going out days, 2 a.m. on Broadway, hitting up one of those hot dog stands down there, it's good stuff.
Heartburn is irrelevant at that point. We forget about the heartburn. That's on the back burner.
Our buddy Parker Kelly wants to know, what exactly do brats have compared to hot dogs?
I'd say
it's a sausage, right?
It's a sausage, and it's seasoned differently, obviously. The hot dog, again, there are people out there that don't really want to know what's inside of a hot dog, but it's a conglomeration of different meats put together inside of a casing. So I'll leave it at that.
We don't need to know how it's made.
Exactly.
It's better to not know.
It's the flavor. And I would say hot dogs are a million times better on a open-fired grill because you get the grill charred marks. Fantastic. Rather than having it in the oven.
Yeah, a lot of you weighing in on this. Dustin and let's see, 3795 or Jeff in Nebraska. A hot dog, as long as there's no ketchup. Ketchup on a hot dog should be illegal. See, I disagree, Jeff. It's whatever you want.
I agree.
It's to each their own. Devin and Dixon, if I ever go to Martinsville, I will destroy some of those hot dogs. I hear they're amazing. Yes, the Martinsville Speedway, they just raced there. They are known for the hot dogs.
Really?
They have they used to be like bright red, those kinds, like Dodger dogs, something like that. But they're awesome. So definitely got to check out, get a hot dog and peanuts and a beer here at First Horizon Park if you come hang out. We'll have Rick Sweet, the manager of the Sounds, a longtime baseball guy, will be joining us at the bottom of the hour. So looking forward to that. We'll check in with Tim Hasselbeck at 1, and then Jeff Him will talk some more baseball with us at 2 o'clock. Coming up next, Mike Borgonzi spoke yesterday. We'll kind of talk about some of the things he had to say at the owners' meetings. We'll do that next. Chasing Big Joe live at First Horizon Park today, 102.5 The Game. Chase and Big Joe, 102.5 The Game here on this Tuesday. We're live at First Horizon Park, opening day at home for the Sounds. He's Nick Frazier. I'm Chase McKay. Big Joe will be back on Thursday, but excited to be here. We'll talk to Sounds manager Rick Sweet coming up here in just a few minutes at the old ballpark. Got it. You can see it behind us if you're watching on the stream on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe to the 102.5 The Game YouTube page at 102.5 The Game. We're going to be doing a lot more with that as we move into the spring and the summer. So be sure to get in there for exclusive content and to watch all of our shows. Yeah. So you can do that. Dr. Crane does a lot of stuff with that. Does a very good job.
You want to see this guy's beautiful face? Go to the YouTube. Come on.
How do you do it?
Come on.
Yeah, that's how we make it happen. The NFL owner meetings going on right now. Mike Borgonzi, the Titans general manager, spoke yesterday, and one of the first things that Jim Wyatt points out in his article really stuck out to me because he basically said the same thing multiple times, which I think he wants everybody to hear. And that is, they put themselves in position to take, quote, the best player available no matter what the position is with the 4th overall pick and throughout the draft. Borgonzi made this point again and again, quote, where we're at right now, we want to take the best player available. It depends on your roster construction too, but where we are at, we are taking the best player available. We are taking the best football player. So whoever that is, whatever position that is, outside of quarterback, they're going to take the best player available.
I just find that kind of telling, but also at the same time not. Because you go listen to ESPN with the Mel Kipers, the Field Yates, and they've all said that Jeremiah Love is the best player in the draft.
Well, if he's there at 4.
But here's the thing, the question I posed you yesterday, if Ruben Bain is there at 4, along with Jeremiah Love, that's a tough thing to go through there for Mike Borgonzi and company.
Well, I mean, here's the thing, and McLean makes a good point. Tim has brought this up. Does a dominant pass rusher help your quarterback? The answer is yes, because if you have a solid defense, it's going to make it easier on your quarterback.
Yeah.
But this quarterback, Cam Ward, needs playmakers. He does. So I'm starting to change my tune. As much as I love Ruben Bain, if Jeremiah Love is there, then according to Mike Borgonzi, I think that's who they take.
Yeah, if you go get an edge rusher on Ruben Bain or Arvell Reese or whoever else you're going to get on the defensive side of the ball in the first round, yes, that does give you more cracks at the bat, using a baseball reference here, because you're going to get the defense off the field quicker, going to give your offense more opportunities to score. And again, maybe that does help Cam Ward out even without having an impact player like Jeremiah Love. Again, Tony Pollard's a serviceable running back. Let's say they do go after a guy like Ruben Bain, or if they do want to go after Jeremiah Love, they say, hey, Tony Pollard, we're going to keep you around. It's going to be a 2 running back set. And obviously it'd be a 3 running back set because you have Tajay Spears in the fold. But we'll see how that all plays out. It reminds me of when, let's just say they go after Jeremiah Love in this case. It reminds me of when they had DeMarco Murray, and then they had an evolution of running backs when it was, Antonio Andrews, and then you had your Dexter McClusters, your Dion Lewis. You had your, I'd say, scat backs, and then comes in the fold of Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry's rookie year wasn't fantastic. Nobody really looked at him as a perennial running back. He had some issues getting adjusted to the league because of his size and just the style of the game. I don't know if that's the same case for Jeremiah Love. That's the one thing that makes it different when looking at the running back room for the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah.
Is Jeremiah Love doesn't seem like on paper and from the scouting aspect of it all that he's going to have any hiccups adjusting to the NFL.
I agree with you. And I mean, again, it goes back to what everybody has said, and there's always the reference to Eddie George and Steve McNair and the impact that they had on each other. And could you have the same kind of thing with Cam Ward and Jeremiah Love? Now, you got it. The other part of that was, you ended up finding the dynamic receiver that turned out to be Derek Mason.
Right.
And we can sit here and debate, was Derek at that time, do you consider him to be elite of the elite? I think he was one of the best in the NFL at that time. So that's pretty elite to me. Could Chim DK become that in a very similar fashion of being a 4th-round pick, predominantly a return guy for the early part of his career? Now, I think towards the end of the season, you saw him used more as a receiver. So if you all of a sudden put that together with the other, the other things, the other thing was Steve had Frank Wycheck. So who is the Frank Wycheck of this team? I don't think they have it right now.
They don't. And if you had to kind of twist my arm and say you got to pick one that's already on the roster, it'd probably have to be Gunnar Helm. I mean, he's that catching wide receiver.
I think you're hoping that he can become that.
Right. And again, the expectations, and I go back to Tajay Spears as an example right here, because everybody thought when Tajay Spears was coming out of Tulane, this guy's going to be the next best thing. Same thing with Gunnar Helm. And I'm not trying to say Gunnar Helm's a bad tight end. I just think, his rookie year, there were a lot of obstacles that were in front of him, and he's now finally coming into his own saying, hey, I'm now tight end number 1 on this team. You have Daniel Bellinger being, tight end number 2, more of that blocking tight end. Now you have a good 1-2 punch there at those positions. But back to the point of Tajay Spears and the coming of age of his position, with Gunnar Helm, you have that now. You have the expectations of this guy could be really, really good. It's now the fact of the matter is you don't want to put too much on his plate and the expectations, because if they keep rising and his production is not getting to the trajectory as you thought it would, then he turns out to become a bust, and you don't want that to happen.
615-737-1025. Some other things that Borgonzi said, he expects trade conversations to pick up in the coming weeks in relation to the 4th pick. Said, quote, our phone lines are always open. We're going to do what is best for us, whether moving up or down during the draft. And typically around this time, once you get back from the owners' meetings, that starts to pick up a little bit. That is a common thing, though. We call each other. Those conversations are ongoing over the next few weeks here. So, I think they'll get some offers. Right now, I feel like they're going to stick there. But, if he could move back a couple of spots or a handful of spots and add more top 100 picks, that's not a bad thing either. I mean, if let's say you move back to in the 8, 9, 10 range and, Bain's there, then okay, then you're in good shape. You're getting a good player and you've added more draft capital. But if you have determined, if everybody in the room is like, guys, Jeremiah Love's going to change this franchise, then you stick and pick.
Yeah, because the teams that are behind Tennessee right now in the draft order, you have New York Giants, that is, Cleveland, Washington, and New Orleans. Out of those teams, I'd say at least 2 of those teams would be eyeballing a guy in Jeremiah Love, if that is the case, if the Titans want to go that direction. I mean, that's kind of what I'm thinking. If you go grab a guy in Jeremiah Love, you got to make sure teams behind you are not as interested as you are, because if that's the case, you stick and pick. But, I mean, I mentioned it yesterday when we were talking about the conversation between the Titans and, the front office and wanting to make possibly some trades. I mean, the phone lines are going to be open. He's definitely playing the proper poker hand right now, Mike Borgonzi, that is, and saying, hey, we're going to go about this through the traditional way. We're going to put our ante-ups in there, and we're going to go another round and see if we can stay along the ride until the very
end. He said Cam Ward is throwing a little bit, still week to week, but he's on track. Everything is looking pretty good. He was asked about Mitchell Trubisky, whether he'll be Ward's backup. He didn't commit on anything while also praising Will Levis. I think you can have enough good quarterbacks in the room. Will has been great. He has been in there working out, and I know he's ready to go, feels healthy. I think everyone has a clean slate in terms of backups there. Cam is obviously the starter, but competition brings out the best in everyone. Nice cop-out answer, but a good answer.
Yeah, and it helps the stock of Will Levis too. Think about it.
It does. Keeping all options open with the interior line, with Schlottman and Cordell Volson, signing them in free agency. Zeitler remains a free agent. He didn't rule out the possibility of Zeitler being re-signed, but he didn't indicate the team has any plans in the immediate future to do so. We're not done there, he says. We have the draft, and after the draft, there will be competition at center. There will be competition at right guard. Jackson Slater's a second-year player. He did some good things. So still looking at that. He talked about trading Tavondre Sweat for Jermaine Johnson. Just said talking about fits and all of that. Was asked specifically about Ruben Bain if he could play wide 9 and solid defense. He said it was one of the better things he did at Miami. So that's interesting.
I do like that comment, though, about like a wide 9. You're playing that 9 tech. You're spacing them way out there. That opens up a lot of opportunities if you're Robert Saleh. You're able to make some stunts over another defensive lineman. You can do those little overlapping runs. I think it'd be great. You can go inside the B gap and or C. That's just what you need out of a perennial edge rusher. Then comes back to the main point of, is he one of the top players for the Titans this upcoming draft, or is it Jeremiah Love?
Yeah, he talked about the top 30 visit with Jeremiah Love while speaking complimentary on Tony Pollard, Tajay Spears, and Khalil Mullins. I feel good about our running backs. So there's a couple of the notes from Mike Morganti and what he had to say yesterday. We'll get into that a little bit more, especially with Tim Hasselbeck, and also Robert Saleh talked as well. But coming up next, the manager of the Nashville Sounds, Rick Sweet, going to join the show. We'll get into his club and also baseball in general, as he's been around the game for a very long time. We'll do that next. Chasing Big Joe live at First Horizon Park here on 102.5 The Game. Chasing Big Joe, 102.5 The Game here on this Tuesday at First Horizon Park. The Sounds are back in action tonight as they open their first homestand of the season, taking on the Charlotte Knights. You can hear pregame coverage at 6:20 on 94.9 The Fan with Jeff Him. We say hello now to the manager of the Sounds, Rick Sweet, who is with us. Sweetie, how you doing?
I'm doing outstanding. Beautiful day. What a day to be at the ballpark.
It's perfect,
especially in March.
Yeah,
that's strange saying March. That just it just not right.
I know. I'm glad to hear you say that. I know you're been around the game a long time. I've always felt like April 1st is when it should all get going, but with TV networks and so many of them coming in with the majors, I mean it's. You're going to have the World Baseball Classic. I mean, it's changing, but it is what it is.
It's changed a lot. in my years in the game, but it's still fun. It's still opening day. Doesn't matter if it's March or April. It's still opening, and that's always fun.
The thing on everybody's minds when it comes to baseball, and you've seen this over the course of the last couple of years in AAA, but the challenge system in the ABS with the umps. We've now seen it at the major league level. I absolutely love it. If you have that type of technology, why wouldn't you use it? But you still have the human element with the umpires and the challenges. You've seen it. What's kind of been your thoughts to see the evolution, and now it's at the big league level?
Well, we've been using it for 3 years in AAA. We're the guinea pigs. Everything that they have in the big leagues that's new, we've done for years. So it's old hat for us. I like it. I like it because it holds umpires accountable. Umpires don't like it, but there's also a technique to it. You find out who's good at it, who's bad at it. We had a lot of players that were not a lot, but we had some players that we had to take it away. We wouldn't let them challenge because their eyes and their heart gets in the way. Pitchers are never allowed to challenge. Pitchers have no clue what's a strike and what's a ball, but catchers are the ones. Catchers are very, very important because they know what's a strike and they know what's not a strike. And I think you'll find that they get a lot of pluses. Those good catchers.
Do you have kind of a system that your guys need to understand of, hey, we're going to try and save these for later in the game, or you have to be absolutely sure, like, because there is a strategy behind it with only 2?
Big time. Now, our strategy in the minor leagues the last 3 years has been more open, more broad. We take chances a little more. We want guys to learn. But in the big leagues, analytics got a hold of this, and holy cow, what they've done with this in the big leagues, and they're still experimenting with it. They're still trying to figure out the analytic part of it, and that may take them most of the year before they get that figured out.
You've always probably looked at the umpire crew, and especially who's going to be behind the plate. But do you have to look at it even further now because you have this in your back pocket?
Yeah, there's no doubt. Umpires don't like it because, excuse me, umpires used to have their strike zone. They would tell us, "Hey, I've got my strike zone." Well, they don't have a strike zone anymore. It's ABS strike zone. So we've got an outside entity running our game, and umpires don't like it. And players, I think, like it from the standpoint that now they have one strike zone. They don't have to worry about 20 different strike zones with umpires.
Well, sorry, Nick, because certain players probably had their own strike zone too, like depending on who you were.
Without a doubt, if you're a Hall of Famer, you're right. It works both ways. Now they don't have their strike zone either. The big league's going to be very interesting to see how it goes over the course of the year.
Rick Sweet Rick Sweet is here with us on the Chase and Big Joe show. Rick, when it comes to former players, one of them being Joey Weimer, setting somewhat of a record last night with the Washington Nationals, 10 on base, getting on base safely 10 times, tying a record for Delgado's. But for a player like that who was DFA'd 3 times last season, along with playing here for the Nashville Sounds, that's got to be a pat on the back for you, right?
I don't know if it's a pat on the back, but I love Joey Weimer. The passion, the excitement, the adrenaline, that what he brings to a team. It's been tough. We gave him a tough deal when he was playing with me here. We needed a center fielder in the big leagues. They took him to the big leagues. Mm-hmm. He wasn't ready to play in the big leagues mentally, and he did a very good job for the Brewers in the big leagues. Because we had to have what he gave us. But then we sent him back to the minor leagues trying to get him back into the flow of baseball, and he's had trouble getting back into that. And hopefully it looks like right now he is into that.
Absolutely. And kind of staying with the Sounds pipeline here, one of the guys that has made some news on MLB Network, Cooper Pratt, jumping from AA, skipping AA, going to AAA. Just your thoughts on him.
Well, he's 21 years old. He's a legit shortstop, and you don't see many of those where they're legit. And we knew that all along. We've known that for a couple years. And he's with us now, and he'll probably stay with us for a while. He's not ready to go to the big leagues, but he'll be ready very, very soon. In fact, I was jokingly going to tell you, well, he was in the lineup today, but I just took him out. Nobody's going to get a contract like that. I'm going to tell him I'm the boss. I'm running this show. You're benched. But, he's on his way. I think he's got to get a physical and get himself ready to get that big contract signed. So he won't play with us for a couple of days here.
Absolutely. And then continuing with that, obviously the middle infield for Milwaukee, Ortiz, Terang, a guy who made a big splash in the WBC, Bryce Terang. You've had him here in Nashville. What's he like as a player on a team?
He's the type of guy you want to have on your team every day. He's along with Sal Frelick. There's a few of those guys that they come to play the game every day. They play the game the right way. Bryce was a shortstop and would have been the shortstop in the big leagues, except we had Adames there, and we knew he was only going to be one more year, so we put Terang at second base. Well, he wins the Silver Slug. He wins everything. You don't move a guy like that, so he became our everyday second baseman. Now Pratt's on the way, and the guy that's there now, Ortiz, had a great year last year, and I'm sure it's going to be interesting down the road, but you can't look too far down the road. When you get a guy like Pratt, you get him signed.
And then one more when it comes to the pitching staff. You have Logan Henderson. Obviously, you're losing Mazeroski to the majors with Milwaukee. What do you got coming up this season for you guys?
Well, I think we've got several young guys. Drohan's pitching tonight. We've got several younger guys, newer guys that we've gone out and traded for. The Brewers are notorious for going out, getting pitching, and getting the most out of them. We really do a good job with our pitching coaches, with the people that teach these guys at the upper levels, and the analytics. We combine the two, and we get more out of our pitching staff. Pitchers and other organizations or free agents want to come to us because they know we're going to help them get better.
Rick Sweet is with us, manager of the Nashville Sounds. As the AAA manager, how often are you communicating with the big club, whether it's the GM or Pat Murphy or whoever? How often do you guys talk?
Every day.
Every day.
My phone just rang. You heard it? Sorry about that. I had to turn it off. See, there's my boss again. He just sent me another text message every day. And now there will be days where maybe for a day or two I don't talk to anybody, and that's like, okay, that's nice, but it doesn't last long. And sometimes it's 2:00 in the morning. It just depends on where they're at, if they're East Coast, West Coast. But we talk. Our communication is going all the time.
How many times in your career have you had to call the big club and go, "Hey, when are you going to call this guy up? He's ready. He's overcooked playing here. Like, you need to find a spot for him." Have you had those times?
Oh, of course. I'm not scared. I have done that. I've done it with the Brewers. I did it with Council in a couple of instances. Respectfully, of course.
Sure.
But just say, hey, this guy's ready. I know that's part of my job. I think one thing, when you've been in the game as long as I have, there's a certain amount of respect just based on the fact that you're still in the game.
Right.
If you're still in the game, somebody thinks you got a clue, and they also know they're going to get an honest opinion. They know I'm not into politics and I'm not into all the outside stuff. I love what I do. I love being here. I love these kids. I want to get them to the big leagues. They're my guys, and they always will be my guys.
Baseball is a game of tradition. It's been around a long time, but we have seen over the course of the last few years or last 10 or so that there have been changes, whether it's the pitch clock or the ABS or replay, things that a lot of people for a long time were very hesitant to do. As a guy that's been around baseball as long as you have, do you feel like it's in one of the best spots that it's been in because some of that new stuff has been allowed to come in?
I think the new stuff has worked well for the game for today.
Yeah.
This would not have worked well 20, 30 years ago. It wouldn't have worked well 40 years ago when I played. Going back to today and all the changes we've made, they were made for the fans. They were made for the betterment of the game. And quite frankly, they've all worked well. I thought some of them would be bigger problems than they've turned out to be. I thought the time clock was going to be a really a problem. And it was day one that we did it in AAA. It was like, wow, guys were saying, I like this. We're out of here in 2 hours and 20 minutes. I haven't been, usually you were playing 3 hour plus games. Now we've made changes again now in the minor leagues because the game's starting to get longer again.
Right.
And that's because players are smart. They find ways around all these rules, and so they're making adjustments to that. Of course, the big leagues, they still have 3 hour games because they got to do commercials. They don't go by the clock. They have to do their commercials and make their money.
One more for you. Rick Sweet is with us. The rule that I still struggle with, I'm starting to open up to it, and the fact that the Vanderbilt Commodores just played a 16-inning game kind of makes me like it more. The ghost runner at second. And I know that was the one that I think a lot of people weren't sure about.
For us in the minor leagues, it's been the best thing that could happen, because if we play a 15, 16-inning game, it kills our pitchers.
Right.
And we can't make adjustments. We can't bring guys in. In the big leagues, if they have a 16-inning game, it kills us because they send down 2 guys that can't pitch for us, and we have to send 2 guys up, fresh guys for them. So now, you notice they don't use the ghost runner in the playoffs, right? Or you've got to still have it there. I think overall, again, for the longevity of the game, for the fans, because fans, they're not going to stick around for 16 innings. It's worked out well for us in the minor leagues. 100%, it's a necessity.
Rick, good to see you. Thanks so much for doing this. It's going to be fun watching tonight and throughout the season, but always enjoy the chats because we all love baseball.
I love it. I appreciate you guys coming out. I always enjoy talking baseball.
Absolutely. Rick Sweet, manager of the Nashville Sounds. They're back in action tonight. We'll have more coming from First Horizon Park. Here on Chasing Big Joe, 102.5 The Game.
Gentlemen, thank you.
Verizon Park. The Sounds in action tonight against the Charlotte Knights, AAA of the Chicago White Sox. So baseball is back. I was watching the Braves yesterday and then just perusing some of the Major League. Saw our buddy Tony Vitello with the Giants. I think he's going to have some growing pains, but
Got his
they're a
first
young
win
team.
last night, right?
Yeah, they did win, but good to see that, which is cool. But I'm just glad baseball's back.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. And then one thing I forgot to ask Coach Sweet was about Pat Murphy, because he's been I'd say some form of a mentor to a lot of coaches across Major League Baseball, along with college baseball coaches as well. And one of those being Tony Vitello. I mean, Vitello was, I guess you could say, some form of a guinea pig in Major League Baseball.
We'll see.
I mean, I know him and Buster Posey have a really close connection. Obviously, he's in the front office in San Francisco, but when it comes to Vitello, I think the biggest growing pain for him that he said was, all these guys are my age. Yeah. It's kind of hard to talk down to a lot of these guys. And if you're not able to talk down, and again, you don't need to talk down to people. It's just more of like a coaching perspective. But it's going to be a difficult task for him, and hopefully he can kind of adjust to that within the first month.
Yeah, so certainly going to be something to see with him as he continues to progress as a manager in the major leagues. Tim Hasselbeck will join us at 1 o'clock. We'll get back into the NFL and the owners' meetings. But I thought Borgonzi's comments were interesting. I know Robert Saleh has also talked as he enters his first season as the head coach of the Titans. What's funny, what we were talking about of taking the best player available and getting a playmaker for Cam Ward, Robert Saleh said, quote, edge rushers are playmakers too, end quote. When you're drafting that high, you're looking at who can change the game in one play. Edge rushers can change the game in one play. Love is a very talented young man, and he can change it in one play. There's receivers who can change it in one play. Right now, we need guys, and we need to develop guys currently on our roster who can change the game in one play. And when you are looking at all these guys from a consistency standpoint, who can flip the game on its head? Edge rushers can close it, and skill guys can end it. I love that because it's true. Who on the Titans roster right now do you feel like can change the game in one play?
I would probably say the edge rushing position.
Yeah, I mean,
well, if you look at one player right now, on
Jeffrey
the roster,
Simmons.
Yeah, Jeffrey Simmons. But
I would say Jim DK.
Yeah,
on return. I mean, he did it a couple of times last year. He flipped the field several times and had some that he took to the house. I mean, he's capable of it. You're hoping Cam Ward can be one of those guys.
Yeah,
but there aren't many.
Yeah, it's slim pickings, but I find that interesting the way Robert Saleh said that, because I'm not trying to make a feud or formulate a feud right now on Nashville radio, but it sounds like there might be a little bit of a division. Maybe it's more of the fans maybe want Jeremiah Love, and obviously he's more of a defensive-oriented head coach. Maybe he wants that edge rusher in Ruben Bain or Arvell Reese. Maybe that's the direction he wants to go in, because you look back when he was in New York for the Jets, those first two drafts were very defensive oriented.
Yeah.
You go grab, your Sauce Gardners, your Jermaine Johnsons. And then when Aaron Rodgers came into the picture, it was all, let's go draft offense. Let's go draft offense. Well, now you have Brian Daboll as your offensive coordinator. Cam Ward, we all know, is going to be the starting quarterback. You wonder, where is that push and pull? Where is that breaking point for this staff?
Yeah, he says, quote, through my lens, whether you call it a playmaker or not, I think more game changer is what they're looking for in the draft. Saleh said, I love our backfield. I love our running back room right now. Shoot, Pollard dropped over 100 on us last season, so I think that's pretty good with the 49ers. Spears has tremendous versatility as a three-down back, and they both play with a physical mindset. I'm a believer in our backfield, and I think it's a group that can help our team.
See, I take that Tony Pollard comment about the 49ers defense, just not tongue-in-cheek, but just I don't take it into big consideration, because we all know the 49ers defense last year was a rotation of practice squad players, kind of like the Titans when they had in 2021, where they had 91 rostered players on this team because of injury. I factored that in as well for the San Francisco 49ers of last season. There are a lot of different players on that defense. So I think you take that with a grain of salt and you look past it and try to figure out what they're really going for.
Yeah, I mean, I do buy the whole best player available. They got to fit what you're trying to do. They got to fit your board. I'm not saying that if the Raiders shock everybody and Mendoza falls to 4, you take him, but I'm just, I think that if you look and you have evaluated Jeremiah Love as the best player or Arvell Reese is the best player, then I agree with that sentiment that you do it.
Yeah. I mean, go ahead. I mean, if you're Robert Saleh and you think a defensive player is going to help this team, by all means, go do it. I'm just worried about there being a little bit of a controversy between Borgonzi, Dayball, and Saleh. And maybe because it's all lockstep, I get all that. But you have those three guys, two of them one was a head coach now. The other one was a former head coach. The other one was with a prolific franchise that was winning championships left and right. You wonder where there's got to be something there that they're all kind of, tossing their cards up in the air thinking, which one do we choose?
Keep this in mind, and I learned this from working with a former GM for a long time. This is lion season.
Absolutely.
So, you are going to have one person in the organization saying one thing, another person in the organization saying another thing, because you want to keep your cards close to the vest. I think they are very much on the same page. If they aren't, then you're going to see that pretty quick, like you did with the last regime.
Right.
So I feel like that they'll be lockstep on, making the pick when they come to make the pick. But it is interesting to kind of get everybody's opinion. Of course, a defensive-minded coach is going to look at an edge rusher and say, that guy's a playmaker. That guy's a game changer, because he's not wrong.
Right.
I mean, Jeffrey Simmons is one of those guys as a defensive, interior defensive guy. And we'll see what he looks like in a 4-3 offense. I think he's going to – last year was a career year for him. I think he's going to take an even another step now with Saleh, because I just think I think he's going to be unleashed.
Yeah,
even more.
When you add guys like John Franklin Myers, Jermaine Johnson,
yes.
And I've been saying this since they hired Robert Saleh as the head coach, this resets the clock on Femi Oladejo. It just does. The guy has all the intangibles to be a perennial edge rusher, or an outside linebacker, that is. Let him be that guy of the future for them. So, again, you can go grab a Reuben Bain or an Arvell Reese. That's fine. If you do that, I think that adds to more of the depth, which is okay. But if you can kind of supplement that edge rushing position with a young player you already have on the roster, go after a guy in Jeremiah Love.
Coming up next, we'll talk to ESPN NFL analyst Tim Hasselbeck, get his thoughts on the owners' meetings and some of the things we've been discussing with the Titans, live at First Horizon Park. Chasing Big Joe on this Tuesday, 102.5 The Game. Chasing Big Joe, 102.5 The Game on this Tuesday, live at First Horizon Park. Sounds open their home season tonight. Pregame at 6:20. First pitch 6:35 on 94.9 The Fan with our man Jeff Him, who'll join us at 2 o'clock. He's Nick Frazier. I'm Chase McCabe. Brandon Bigsby, a.k.a. Brando, back at the studio. We're getting Tim Hasselbeck all lined up. We'll have him here in just a second. We'll also have a 4-pack of tickets to Thursday's game to give away here in just a few minutes. Let's bring in Tim Hasselbeck, ESPN NFL analyst and the head coach of the Innsworth Tigers. Tim, I got good news for you. You don't have to deal with Joe this week.
Oh, wait, he's on vacation? What's he doing?
He is. He's down in Key West. We don't really know what he's up to, but he's hanging out, and he'll be back on Thursday. But he was very sad that he was going to miss his visit with you.
I'm surprised that he didn't, step away from the swim up bar to join the segment. Quick question though: do we think he keeps his T-shirt on when he swims? Like, what do we think he does? Does he keep it, or does he wear floaties? How do we think how does he look in the pool? What are we thinking?
I don't know if I want to envision that, to be honest with you, but yeah, I would say
Fair.
Floaties. I could see him with the a lot of sunscreen on the nose, maybe some goggles and some floaties.
Yeah, that's fair. And you know what? Considering it's a lot around lunchtime, we probably should change the topic.
Yeah,
I agree.
Tim, I could see Joe wearing floaties on his ankles to hold them up above water if he wants to do the full spread eagle, like he wants to do that. I feel like I could see Joe doing it with his ankles along with his arms. So Joe's definitely a floaty guy.
He's a floaty guy. All right, that's good to know. Well, it's good to be gone with you guys either way.
Yeah, and we appreciate it. The owners' meetings going on right now, and so that gives GMs and coaches an opportunity to speak. One thing Robert Saleh said that I thought was interesting, and this is a defensive guy talking, but what Borgonzi had said they're going to look to take the best player available at 4. Saleh said edge rushers are playmakers too, when asked about getting a playmaker in this year's draft. As a quarterback, how do you feel hearing that from a head coach?
Well, I think that he's exactly right. And, when you look at impact positions, I think, running back, especially for rookie running backs, they can be an impact position because, those guys touch the football a lot. So that's the case. Certainly quarterback's the case. Receiver could be the case because they score touchdowns. And then I really do think in terms of closing games, creating negative plays, the importance of third down. I think it's a fair assessment that edge rushers are playmakers. So I just think it's a fair assessment of the position and the impact it can have. And when you look at, the highest paid players in the game, it obviously, you have the quarterbacks that are in the mix. You have receivers that are making a lot of money because they score touchdowns. Running back, because of the longevity of the career, of that position is a little bit different. But elite pass rushers are guys that are paid as, quote unquote playmakers, just when you look at, the compensation. So I think it's fair. I think it's true. I don't know that it necessarily gives us the information we're looking for in terms of, where the Titans are going in the draft.
Do you think, though, with Borgonzi saying best player available, which how many times have you heard a GM say that? I mean, that is that's the typical answer. But looking at the Titans roster, don't you think that is the right move? If it's Love, if it's Bain, if it's Reese, I mean, any of those guys, I don't think you can necessarily go wrong there if you take one of them at 4.
Yeah, I think that I agree with you, because while GMs can say, like, okay, we're just going to take the best player available. Well, what if you have massive holes on your roster and your best player available, is I'm making this up, obviously, but is a quarterback, but you're not going to draft a quarterback because you have one. So, I do think when general managers say we're going to take the best player available, some of that is to protect themselves when they do draft somebody because it's a team need. you could say he was the best player on the board. He was the highest rated player, that we had on the board. And, unless you're the person that actually did the rankings, you don't know if it's true or not. So, let's just say they end up, taking Bain, but they had, Bailey ranked higher. Like in that environment, like they're going to say, we got the highest rated player on our board when, in fact they didn't. So I think guys say that. I think sometimes you can be in, if you have a good roster, you can truly say, listen, this is the highest ranked guy we have. We're going to take him. But I think if you have holes on your roster, the roster management and where you're allocating your resources does matter quite a bit. And that's why you can say, look, the need at this position is greater than the difference in the rating that we have on these two separate positions.
Tim, a lot of people believe that next year's draft is going to be really, really strong and deep. Whereas this year's draft, I think there's definitely good talent, but not to that level. Do you think that teams are going to keep that in mind with some of the decisions they make in this year's draft, whether it's, taking a guy at a certain position or trades that they may make?
Yeah, I've heard people kind of reference that as it relates to quarterback. And the only thing I would say is that I feel like people are wrong about that all of the time. You know what I mean? Where you sit there and go, but next year's quarterback class is going to be so good. And then you get there and you're like, what? What are you talking about? Like no, it's not, and then other years where, they kind of, say, it's not a great class. And then you look up and there's, 3 guys that go in the first round. So I think it's way too far out to project. Like, I think we probably all agree. Like at one point, people were talking about Carson Beck, like he could be the top pick in the draft, correct? Right?
Yeah.
Like that, like it didn't happen. Who was the kid at Ole Miss years ago? I think he went in the year where he was going to be the number 1 pick in the draft. And I don't think he got drafted when he came out.
Who are you talking? Yeah.
Nees or something like that. What was his name? But anyway, like, what I'm talking about. Like he was good. Like there was all this talk. It was going to be this and that. And then next thing you know, he played his senior year. It was a disaster and it didn't work out. So I don't know. I think that there is I think the process is it's a critical process, the draft evaluation process. And I think it's real easy to just shine some love on these guys that haven't gone through the process and have, every wart uncovered, on them. And then I think there's also a lot of pressure to playing, as when you go into the season with incredibly high expectations. And so sometimes guys just don't deliver in that environment. And then there's an element where, part of the NFL projection is exactly that. It's a projection. It's not always just based on production. And so, with that, the expectations change when there's this projection of, hey, this guy's a first rounder. And then you watch him play and you're like, he doesn't dominate the way a first rounder dominates. It's like, well, because the NFL teams are projecting based on, other factors other than production. So I don't know. I don't think people are waiting because they think, what's behind door number 2 next year is just going to be so significantly better.
We will have more with Tim Hasselbeck, ESPN NFL analyst, coming up next here on Chasing Big Joe, 102.5 The Game. Chasing Big Joe, 102.5 The Game on this Tuesday. We're live at First Horizon Park, continuing our conversation with ESPN NFL analyst Tim Hasselbeck and the head coach at Innsworth. Nick?
Tim, when it comes to the Tennessee Titans and the offensive line, Mike Borgonzi said, quote, keeping all options open for the interior line. Just nobody really knows the future of Peter Skoronski. Titans have roughly $63-64 million. I know they're trying to really work out a deal there. But overall, do you see the Titans going after another offensive lineman before the season, or is that money allotted for more of a Peter Skoronski deal?
Yeah, I think Skoronski would be somebody they want to keep, and so I do think that there's going to be a portion of it there. I think you're always looking for linemen. You're looking for versatile linemen. I just, when you look at the season and it being long, guys missing because, listen, maybe it's a week because of a concussion, maybe it's an MCL that has you out for a couple of weeks. It can completely derail your season. So, I think that versatile offensive linemen are always going to be of value. And I think that, teams are always going to be looking for guys like that, honestly, throughout the entire year. This time of year into training camp when injuries start to come up. I don't know. And maybe I'm just thinking of that, like if you guys have seen the Frank Ragnow story from Detroit, obviously he retired. Was a great player in Detroit, played through a bunch of injuries, retired. The Lions are making him repay some of his signing bonus. It just reminds me what guys are going through, and you don't know when it's going to end from somebody just because of the physical toll of the position. And so, yeah, I think they'll draft a lineman. I think we'll see them sign at least one more veteran offensive lineman, before training camp starts. And I think it might be after, mini camps because, guys they draft maybe aren't as ready as they thought they were. I mean, I just think that will be the routine for the Titans as it will for some other teams.
Yeah, and sticking on the offensive side of the ball, Will Levis, obviously Mike Borgonzi's mentioned that he hasn't committed to a backup quarterback per se. But when it comes to Levis, he gave him a little praise. What do you see in that? Is that more of just trade capital or is that actual truth?
I think it's trade capital because it just feels as if, the Mitch Trubisky signing, Trubisky's not signing to be the third guy.
Right.
And they're not giving him the money that they gave him to be the third guy. So now could you keep Levis on his rookie contract as a third? Yeah, you could, especially considering, you're not paying, veteran starter money to your starter. So it's not impossible for them to keep all three. But I also don't want to sit here and say that there's actually a competition for the backup spot because I don't believe that there is. But that also doesn't mean that they're going to trade him. Now I will say, I did run into Will this offseason. I've seen him working out. He looks great, and he in many ways he's always looked great because he's so physically talented. But he appears, obviously when he had the surgery, he appears healthy, he appears excited about the future. And so I do think he ends up being somebody that's very desirable to other teams outside of just the Titans.
Interesting. On a broader note, when it comes to the league as a whole, the NFL Referees Association obviously looking for some sort of increase in pay. NFL's already mentioned that they're already looking for D1, D2, and D3 referees to kind of fill in for those interim referee spots. What do you think that does for the product aspect of the NFL going forward if they don't come to a deal?
Well, Nick, I just tell you this, all the listeners that watch college football know that some of the college football, and let me first say, officiating is hard, okay?
Yeah.
So, high school, college, pro, whatever, it's hard. Now, college officiating, you just watch games. It's bad. Period, it's bad. Mm-hmm. And so, this idea that the NFL and whatever billion-dollar business industry that it is okay with saying, we're going to go get some people that are bad at their job at the college level and have them do it at the pros, I think is insulting to, the NFL referees that by and large are not perfect, but when you think about the degree of difficulty of what they do, I think it's an insult to them. I would also say, and obviously there's a little bit more runway to vet guys out in terms of officiating and things of that nature. But we can talk about the Hail Mary and some bad officiating back when we had replacement refs, during that lockout. But we also had officials, on Facebook talking about, their fandom of their team and then going out and officiating games. Remember what a disaster that was. It wasn't just that they were bad at officiating the games. There were other factors to this that I think is going down a really dangerous path in terms of you can't have that in an industry where there's so much gambling on games and things like that, to have, officials that honestly just are not professional enough to be up for the task. So look, the NFL is going to negotiate hard. I think the referees have a right to negotiate hard, but I think the NFL has got to be really careful thinking that, it's a piece of labor that can be easily replaced, because I don't think it can be.
And another factor into all this, the first game of the season is going to be Melbourne, Australia. And being in Melbourne, I'm a rugby fan, so the Melbourne Storm is one of their top 3 teams in the rugby league right now. They're all big fans of that just aggressive style of football. So the fact of the matter is, if the NFL Referees Association has the interim refs for that first game of the season and it comes out to be a bad product, it's just a bad look for the NFL as a whole.
It's an awful look for the NFL. And then, the other part of it is because of the amount of detail that we get on replays and things of that nature, like our expectation, because, you can say what you want about the NFL officiating. They get things wrong. They're always going to get things wrong. But they get a lot of stuff right. Like the NFL officials, I'll give you a call. Like that's the example. In high school football, illegal man downfield not being called is one of the worst missed calls in high school football. Like, it's unbelievable how poorly it's officiated. Okay. Mm-hmm. In college football, it is only officiated slightly better. In NFL football, they almost never miss it. It's fact. And so I think that, while NFL officials are going to get things wrong, they are also operating at a level significantly higher than the crews at other levels of football. And then the game moves faster, and, the players are faster. There are more cameras in terms of the scrutiny on calls and the ability for the viewer at home to know if the official got the call right or wrong. And, I think it will no doubt impact the confidence people have in the product that's on the field.
Tim Hasselbeck is with us. I want to go back to the offensive line, and we were talking earlier, having the opportunity to work with the late, great Floyd Reese for as long as I did. I would laugh when, we would talk O-line in the draft, and he could be like, I can get a guard 5th, 6th round, something like that. Do you think that offensive line is in most drafts, the deepest position to find throughout the draft, where you can actually find a player that's going to be able to play for you and develop into an NFL player?
It's got the lowest interior offensive line. It's got the lowest bust rate in the first round. And if you kind of use the threshold of, did the guy make it to a second contract with his team as the determination of if he was a bust or not, interior offensive line has the lowest bust rate. So center and guard combined. So, and then I think there's an element, and Floyd was probably like that. Some guys feel really good about their offensive line evaluation, their ability to identify, what's important for a guy to be able to make it as an offensive lineman in the NFL. And it's way easier at center and guard than it is at tackle, just because, tackle in some respects, there are minimum requirements to be able to be good at tackle.
Yeah.
That, kind of outside of the framework of that have had some success. And so that's why I do think people can miss at tackle more than they can miss in the interior offensive line. So I wouldn't disagree with Floyd's assessment of being able to find guys. And there's a long history of undrafted free agents that have gone on,
Sure.
to have amazing careers as centers and guards in the NFL.
He is Tim Hasselbeck, ESPN NFL analyst and the head coach at Ensworth. You got any spring practices coming up?
Well, yeah, we do. We got 7 spring practices coming up. It's funny. I've actually got a couple of text messages today from, like Virginia Tech and Austin P reached out saying like, hey, can you get us the spring break spring ball graphic? I'm like, man, we got to get on this right around the corner. So yeah, we'll have 7 practices in May, and it'll be good. We got a lot of multi-sport athletes over here at Ensworth, so it's great. So we're gonna squeeze it inside playoff baseball, playoff lacrosse, and even some track meets.
Love it. Gonna be fun for sure. Appreciate it as always, Tim.
All right, see you, fellas. Good to be on with you.
Yeah, Tim Hasselbeck, ESPN NFL analyst and the head coach at Ensworth, joins us every Tuesday at 1 o'clock. Must listen to radio. We'll react to some of the things he had to say and continue the conversation from First Horizon Park. He's Nick Frazier. I'm Chase McCabe, 102.5 The Game. Chasing Big Joe, 102.5 The Game here on a good day, Tuesday at First Horizon Park. We're going to give away some tickets here in a few minutes. I want to remind you, Vanderbilt baseball takes on the Bruins of Belmont over at the Hawk tonight. First pitch at 6 o'clock, and you can hear it all on 102.5 The Game starting at 5:45, presented by Gary Force Acura. Hopefully they don't go 16 innings.
Yeah, let's not have that.
That would not be cool. Talking a lot of the football offseason, presented by Tennessee Brew Works, the official craft beer of the football offseason here on 102.5 The Game. I thought Tim made some, interesting points when talking about playmakers and, and all of that. And look, I agree. I think if you can find just a game changer, I think Robert Saleh said it best, find a game changer.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can do that, that's going to automatically make your team better.
Yeah, I mean, game changer for sure. There was stuff that was posted online from Alec Eilmaner's camp of just his off-season workouts. He looks really good.
Yeah.
It looks like he's gained at least about 10, maybe 15 pounds of weight. I mean, I'm not well in tune with the Titans in their house, whatever it may be. But online, he looks like he is fit, ready to go for another season. I'm not saying he's a perennial playmaker, but he could develop into being one of those guys.
Yeah, no, I'm with I would love to see him take a step forward because I liked his game last year. I thought that he definitely got better as the season went on. He added a lot to the offense. I don't think he's a number one receiver by any means, but I think he's a serviceable, really good receiver. I mean, he had 515 yards on 41 catches last year, 4 touchdowns. So you can only hope to improve on that, and that was in 16 games.
Yeah, and I also too, I like the way he high pointed the football too.
Yeah,
last season that was his biggest trait for me coming into his rookie season was that he high pointed the football well at Stanford, and just the yards after catch. That's what made him a difference maker for the Titans to go draft a guy like that. So if he's gained some weight in the offseason, which is what it looks like online, and he's able to get better at high pointing the football in year 2, to me, I see that touchdown number doubling to 8 easy. I really do. I think he could get 8 touchdowns this year. And look, if Chim Dike is a helper in that aspect on offense, that's great. But to me, I think the depth will eventually get there where they don't have to use him on offense all the time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if he's good enough to use on offense, then you use him on offense.
Sure.
I mean, that's what, D-Mace will tell you, that he kept working being a receiver and guys got hurt and he got his opportunity and they realized, like, we can't take this guy out.
Right.
And Derek became the greatest Titans receiver of all time, and still is, in my opinion. A.J. Brown, I think, was on track to break that. But so it's all about what, Chim can do. I'm going to be really curious of how Calvin Ridley fits into all of this, because I don't think we've talked about that a whole lot now that they've decided to keep him after restructuring his contract. So you bring in Wan'Dale Robinson, you have Ridley, you have DK, you have Iomanner, you have Bryce Oliver. You still could draft someone, you still could sign someone. So there's obviously that they could add there, but Ridley is kind of the interesting X factor that if he can hang on to the ball, you think about some of those catches, if he had made them last year, how different things could have been.
Well, just imagine how different the season would have gone after that Denver game. If he caught those passes that mattered the most in that game, especially the one up the seam in the middle of the field, that would have changed the game. To me, they would have won that game easily. But again, that's all ands, if, or buts, candies, and whatever else. So
if ands or buts, candies, and
yeah, if he can catch the football like you alluded to, I agree. He could really be a huge asset to this offense, and it could open up a lot more things other than just the passing game. That means that defenses have to game plan for a guy like Calvin Ridley. And again, he's one of the best route runners that we've seen in a long time here for the Tennessee Titans. Everybody thought it'd be Julio Jones. Obviously, A.J. Brown had that breakaway physicality. But, I mean, if Calvin Ridley can stay healthy, and along with being a good route runner, he could be a good serviceable wide receiver for this team. He really could.
615-737-1025 is our phone and text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Our question of the day, in honor of being here at First Horizon Park at the Sounds, is your favorite baseball go-to snack. We had a lot of votes for hot dogs, peanuts, bratwursts. Obviously, beer has to be thrown into the mix as well. I said a beer and a hot dog. You can't go wrong there. You said
chicken tenders,
okay,
and a Coca-Cola or something. Can't go wrong with it.
You're forever a 6-year-old, and I love that about you.
Look, that's one trait I love having is, I don't mind drinking a beer every once in a while, or a different adult beverage of some sorts, but you can't take the kid out of an adult. You just can't, and that's the beauty of it. When you get older and you keep aging and aging and aging, never get rid of your kid mentality, and I feel like that's something you have to carry on as you get older.
Yeah, so if you want to weigh in on that, on our question of the day, 615-737-1025, and we can read some of those answers or take some of your calls about your favorite baseball snack as we're here at the ballpark. Jeff Hem going to join us at 2 o'clock, and we'll get into more baseball and the sounds and all of that with him. Nothing groundbreaking has really come from the NFL owners meetings. They did announce a few new rules. Let's see. The approved playing rules summary by the competition committee to permit the kicking team to declare an onside kick at any time during the game. So they've gotten rid of that it had to be, which they should.
Finally.
To eliminate the kicking team's incentive to intentionally kick the ball out of bounds when kicking from the 50. They have modified the kickoff alignment requirements for the receiving team players in the setup zone. They have allowed league personnel to consult with on-field officials when considering disqualifications for both flagrant football acts and non-football acts without being called on the field. For 1 year only, the NFL will allow NFL officiating department to correct clear and obvious mistakes made by on-field officials that impact the game in the event there is a work stoppage involving the game officials represented by the NFL Referees Association. That's interesting.
Gonna have a lot of that this year.
So if you're going to have the reserve refs, basically the eye in the sky can look at some stuff.
I feel like there's going to be a lot of that. We talked with Tim a couple segments ago about the interim referees when it takes place in the NFL. That's going to be a huge emphasis in the first, I'd say, 4 to 5 weeks, because if it's going to be like the film area back in 2012, 2014, we're going to see a lot of this week 1 all the way through week 6 of just carrying on of missed calls and missed calls.
A couple of bylaws that have been updated allows the league office to adjust the procedures and related dates and deadlines for the final roster reduction to accommodate an international game scheduled in the first week of the regular season. They have established that Saturday and Sunday of Labor Day weekend to be business days to provide clubs with personnel notices during the first weekend after the roster reduction. They've also said they're going to permit players on the reserve PUP list to begin a 21-day practice period after the club's second game of the regular season. And then one rule that was put in by Pittsburgh to make permanent change to the that was implemented during the 2025 season that permits clubs to have one video or phone call with no more than 5 prospective UFAs during the 2-day negotiation period, and to permit clubs to make travel arrangements with such players upon agreeing to terms.
Wow.
So there you go. That's some of the rule changes that have come out of the owners' meetings in day number 2.
I wonder how much, and again, I know I'm harping on this a lot. Please stop me if it gets annoying, Chase, but I wonder how much of those rule changes are playing into factor of the referees that are still in negotiations right now.
Could be.
I feel like with those referees not having a new deal done yet, that's hindering some of those new rule changes. I'm not saying the ones that have just been implemented, but future rules that could be implemented this year that are not going to be.
Could be. Do you want to go see the Sounds coming up Thursday night here at First Horizon Park? I got a 4-pack of tickets on the line to see the Sounds take on the Charlotte Knights, which is the AAA affiliate of the Chicago White Sox, coming up this Thursday, first pitch at 6:35. Caller number 4 in honor of a 4-pack at 615-737-1025 will win a 4-pack of tickets to see the Sounds take on the Knights here at First Horizon Park on Thursday. We'll have more coming next here on Chase and Big Joe, 102.5 The Game. Chasing Big Joe, 102.5 The Game here on this Tuesday, First Horizon Park. Congratulations to Kevin. He won the 4-pack of tickets to see the Sounds take on the Charlotte Knights Thursday here at First Horizon Park. And we'll probably have more opportunities for you to win. Brandon Bigsby is back at the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. And enjoy hanging out with Brando here on the show. And Dr. Crane, you've done a wonderful job filling in for Big Joe. You'll do that again tomorrow before he returns on Thursday. So a lot of fanfare, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's in hog heaven right now in his little trip. I mean, he saw the Beach Boys.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, that's a bucket list thing for anybody, really. But I know I appreciate you guys letting me fill in for Joe while he's been out, and it'll be fun tomorrow. Not gone yet, everybody. Not gone yet.
And we're working on cool stuff for tomorrow. But Predators won't be in action until Thursday night. They'll head out. I believe they're heading out pretty early tomorrow out to the West Coast to give them time to kind of acclimate to the time change. But when you talk about a road trip, this one is so very important because of the head-to-head matchups with the Kings and the Sharks that they're going to have. Last night, not many games going on in the National Hockey League, and there's 10 tonight, so relatively full schedule. But the Golden Knights won in John Tortorella's debut against the Canucks 4-2.
Okay.
The Penguins 8-3 over the Islanders. The Islanders have just struggled as of late, and the Avs beat the Flames 9-2. So I would say that they're cooking on all cylinders. This one was interesting. The Sharks beat the Blues 5-4. Why is that interesting? Well, because they're right there together in the standings, and they're chasing the Predators. And so after play last night, the Preds still hold a playoff spot. The Sharks now move ahead of Winnipeg and St. Louis with 75 points, tied with the Kraken. They're 1 point back of the Kings, 2 points back of the Preds.
Wow.
So
it's a close race.
It is close. So that those games were very important. And then tonight, let's see, you will have, I think, Seattle's in action tonight.
Yep. At Edmonton.
Yeah, and then the Jets are in Chicago to take on the Blackhawks. That one's important. I love this song. Triple H, let's go. All right. And then Wednesday, there are 3 games, but the Blues are in LA to take on the Kings. The Ducks in San Jose to take on the Sharks. So those 2 games tomorrow night, immensely important before the Preds play the Kings on Thursday.
Absolutely. I think Wednesday night is the marquee night for Preds fans to be watching, just because of, look, if St. Louis beats the Kings, that's huge for standings purposes. Also, I feel like it's a null and void for St. Louis. Yeah, they're still kind of out there for points purposes, but
they're in the mix, man.
They're creeping up.
They have played well. I mean, since the deadline, they have been very good. They're 6-2-2 in their last 10. I know they lost last night, but they went on a heater there for a minute, and I mean they're 4 points back. So they're not dead yet, I guess is the best way to put it.
As of right now on Money Puck, it has the Blues having a 5.2% chance to make the playoffs. I do find it interesting how they have Seattle over Nashville when it comes to playoff percentages of getting in, because to me, like, I see Nashville as a better team than Seattle, but I get the point.
Well, they have 2 games in hand,
right?
So that helps. I mean, Nashville only has 8 games left, whereas Seattle has 10. LA has 9 left. I mean, the games in hand will play a factor in this. That's why, control what you can control and just win your games.
Yeah, and I was listening to DVD yesterday with Willie and Adam and D-Mace. Obviously, they were talking about just the goaltending, and even Willie alluded to it. Yeah, Justus Arninen has been really good. How do you see the Preds differentiating the goaltending on this road trip? Do you think they kind of split it, like one night Saros, one night Arninen? Or are they riding with the hot hand?
That's a good question. Let's see, I'll pull the schedule up here. They have a back-to-back. They have one more back-to-back left, and that is next Monday and Tuesday, LA and Anaheim. So I would assume Onninen's going to get one of those.
Right.
I think you'll see them use him with the 8 games left, I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if he played Saturday night in San Jose. And then depending on kind of where you're at, you can look at Thursday at Utah. That Minnesota game back here could be a possibility. So I think he's got at least 2, maybe 3 more starts.
Okay. Yeah. I on my list over here, I was doing this yesterday. There are 5 games on this Preds in April that they need to win. Both the games would be against the Kings, both the games against the Sharks. I would like to see them beat the Mammoth. That'd be nice.
Yep.
That's a backdoor open to the first wild card spot, if that is the case. And then I have, let's see, Saros starts against the Kings, alternate with Ananen, back to Saros, then keep Saros in net against the Mammoth because that's more of an important game if that's the case for that wild card one, if they are in the talks for that.
Well, I mean, I think that's fair. And then I'd love to see them beat Anaheim too.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, if they could get wild card 1 and then draw Anaheim, I like that matchup in the first round much better than going up against Colorado. I mean, Colorado scoring 9 goals last night, like holy cow!
It's almost like we're just living in Colorado's world. They
So
just
let's
want to
see.
keep scoring.
Let me give you the how things went down. Drury scored first, his 10th. Kadri scored back-to-back, 15 and 16. Landeskog scored his 11th. Our man Parker Kelly scoring his 18th of the year. Good job, Parker.
There we go.
McKinnon with number 49. Natchez with 35. Sam Malinsky with his 5th. And then Laakkonen scored his 20th. Those were the 9 goal scorers last night. And then Strome and Ottman added a couple for Calgary, and that was it.
Good Lord.
So a lot of goal scoring last night.
If you're a fantasy hockey fan, you're definitely happy as a clam if you had a bunch of Colorado Avalanche players.
Yeah. In the Blues and the Sharks, Theo Lindstein scored his first of the year for St. Louis. Winberg with his 15th. Celebrini with his 37th. Buchnevich with his 17th for St. Louis. Celebrini with his 38th. Then Winberg with his 16th. Broberg scores. Cam Fowler scores for St. Louis. And then Adam Godot gets the game winner in the third period for San Jose, his 16th. So that's how that one went.
I love Adam Godot.
Yeah.
You want to know why? Good. That name just sounds great.
He's a good player.
Yeah.
He's Godot, a lot going on for
there
him.
You go. Yep.
Yeah, that was good.
I was waiting for it.
Coming up next, we're here at First Horizon Park. We're going to talk more baseball with Jeff Hem, the voice of the Sounds. He will join us live here in just a few minutes. Chasing Big Joe on a Tuesday, 102.5 The Game.
Hour number 3, Chase and Big Joe, 102.5 The Game. Dr. Crane, Nick Frazier. Chase McCabe had to step out for a minute. Big Joe Dubin out in Key West, so he's living up the good life right now.
Wow.
Tell me about it.
What a gig.
I have on the one and only play-by-play announcer for the Nashville Sounds, Jeff Him. Jeff, how are you?
I'm doing great. Good to have you guys here. It is a fantastic day for our home opener. I'm so glad Mother Nature did us a solid with tonight. What a perfect day. Good to have you guys here, and thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. You know, what is your biggest thing looking at this Nashville Sounds team of 2026 going into the season?
I mean, how young it is. This is the youngest team that I think we've had to start a year in my time with the Sounds. I think it's one of the youngest the Brewers have had at AAA. 16 of the 28 guys are 25 years old or younger, and only 2 guys are 30 years or older. And, you know, AAA rosters, as you well know, like they can be melting pots. And a lot of times you've got at least a good handful of 33-year-olds, 32-year-olds. This guy's got 5 years in the big leagues and maybe he was hurt and he's kind of on the comeback trail. The large majority of this roster is guys who've come up from AA, have not been to the big leagues yet, or they've been there and they haven't stuck yet, like Tyler Black and some of the other returning Sounds who are still early in their career. So just how young and dynamic and like as the scouts would say, toolsy a lot of these players are, just the raw ability. And then they'll learn to harness that and to figure out, okay, this is how AAA pitchers are going to pitch to me. But just a really young, exciting group. I mean, the Brewers have the best of both worlds. They've got a really good big league roster that expects to contend again this year, and they've won their division, I think, 5 of the last 6 years. So they've got that, and they've got the number 1 farm system in baseball. And especially for the way they operate and build and develop, I mean, they've got the best of both worlds. And then the Sounds, we reap the benefits of that with the product on the field, as talented as it is. And the Sounds have had winning records several years in a row. This roster is just built a little bit differently than the previous years early in the season, and it's really exciting. And you know, I know you guys got to catch up with Rick Sweet, and you know he joins me every Sunday on the broadcast on the pregame show. And we were talking on Sunday in Norfolk about how the Brewers and Sweet and the coaches have to kind of thread the needle of patience for some of these young guys, but also urgency, because if you're at AAA, that means the parent club expects you to be ready for the big leagues and thinks you're ready for the big leagues. So it's this like patience and urgency combination that is a unique dynamic in baseball. So a really exciting young team here in Nashville to start the year.
Love to hear that. Yeah, you know, Rick Sweet, he mentioned about, you know, Joey Weimer asked him about his whole prolific start to the season, but he mentioned when he was here in Nashville, he wasn't quite ready for the big leagues. He was forced into the situation with Milwaukee, hence the reason why he was DFA'd last season 3 times. But, I mean, it just goes to show you the quality and talent there is here at the minor league level, especially here in Nashville.
Yeah, and the Brewers are as good as anybody at finding that talent. And they admit, and all big league teams will admit, like, it's not always going to happen for that player with them. Like in the case of Joey Weimer, he got major league time with Milwaukee, but maybe it's now going to work for him to blossom with the Nationals. I think of Lucas Ursig, who's a reliever now for the Royals. He got dealt to the A's a few years ago by the Brewers. The A's were in a spot where they were like, hey, we like that guy. We would put him on our 40-man roster. The Brewers did right by the player to trade him away because they're like, look, we like you too. We just don't have a spot for you. And now Ursig is blossoming somewhere else. So all these major league teams, they want all their guys to become stars for them, but there's not always timing or room for that to happen. And if the player becomes a great player somewhere else, like you guys talked about with Sweetie, like that's still a win for the original organization that had that player. They identified it. It just for one reason or another did not work out with that same organization.
Yeah, and adding on to just former players here in Nashville, along with some of the injuries, when it comes to Jackson Trio, it was out 2 to 4 weeks. It was made last week on opening day with the broken hand. Could we potentially see him here in Nashville for a little rehab assignment?
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, it's rare that a major league player misses multiple weeks on the injured list and doesn't have a rehab assignment. It's not an automatic that a guy would have a rehab assignment. A lot of variables could play into that, but that's always one of the first things I think of when I see someone for the Brewers go on the injured list. Like, okay, wonderful. See him come through. Same thing for like Quinn Priester, who's on their injured list and is missing more time than Churio is expected to miss and is a pitcher. And you think, okay, they got to ramp him back up. Maybe that leads to a rehab assignment. So certainly could see Churio here on rehab assignment. If it's more on that 4-week end than the 2-week end, in my mind, that leads likelier to a rehab assignment because he's been out away from game action even longer.
Right.
Talking to Jeff Him, voice of the Sounds. Hello, Jeff.
Welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm glad you made it for this segment of your show that I'm on.
I know. Thanks for jumping
You're only
on.
doing like 4 jobs at once
Yeah,
sometimes. That's
just a few. What can you remember in your time here? Like the biggest hype for a rehab assignment? What was? Didn't Josh Hamilton play?
That's
with,
a good. Yeah. There's 2 parts to that. If it's purely as a sound, I was starting to think there. But I remember a couple years ago when Joey Votto was with the Reds to start the year and hit a ball like out to the guitar on his rehab assignment, and that's always a weird emotion as an announcer. You're like impressed by the other player and respectful of his career, but it's like I don't want him to homer off of the sound. So Votto comes to mind. Josh Hamilton.
Correa. Didn't Correa play for Round Rock?
Yes. I think we did see Correa for Round Rock. I remember Correa and Fresno coming up with the Astros, but I think you're right. I think he did rehab here. The Sounds have had Christian Yelich come through. Yeah. Churio last season was kind of fun because he was here so briefly at the end of 23 that it's like, we're seeing Churio almost as long on this rehab assignment as we saw him on his way to the big league. So that one was kind of fun because he was still so young and you don't think of him yet as an established big leaguer, but he kind of is. So those are a couple. Now you get the wheels turning, though. That's
Josh Donaldson.
Donaldson was not a rehab, at least when they signed. They had signed him on a minor league deal, certainly by like pedigree. That's one of the more notables. Like Barry Zito was not a rehab assignment. We had him all of 2015, but as a former Cy Young Award winner, that was a cool experience. So, there have been, in one way or another, rehab or otherwise, a lot of big names that have either played for or against the Sounds just in the last 10 years of this ballpark.
That's crazy to think about. How have you seen Robert Gasser evolve since he was acquired, and I think he was in the Hader trade? He's been in the big leagues a few times, but he's going to be here at least to start. How has he progressed?
Yeah, he was phenomenal on opening night in Norfolk. He struck out 11 in 5 2/3, and I caught up with him the next day on my pregame, and he's like, I don't think of myself as a veteran, but, Frazier and I were talking about, like, this is such a young team that Gasser feels like one of the veterans on the team. We've really seen all the different types of scenarios that could have a guy at AAA. When Gasser became Sound late in 22, he'd barely been at AAA. Then in 23, he was the International League Pitcher of the Year, didn't get a call-up that year, did in 24, ends up having the Tommy John surgery. We see him as a rehabber last year. Then he goes to the big leagues and pitches in the postseason for the Brewers as a reliever. Now he's back to being what we know of him as a starter kind of waiting in the wings. So he's really evolved and just gotten better. Like, that's what I always try to remind listeners and followers of the game with the role that I have, where you see what guys do behind the scenes all the time. These guys are never the finished product. And they're never thinking they're the finished. They're always trying to get better and tinker and, maybe this pitch, maybe this grip, maybe whatever it is. So I think when I think of Gasser, I think he's ready to pitch right now in the big leagues, and the Brewers could use him tomorrow if they needed him to help them. But he's also like down here working on things all the time and not thinking, well, I'll just kind of sit back and wait till they need me. There's an urgency down here at AAA, even though it's a long season and day to day, you can't approach baseball the way you can football. From a mentality standpoint and an urgency standpoint, I think kind of you can. And I think Gasser's in that group of, like, in order to be ready and to stay ready, he's got to try to strive for perfection at AAA to truly be ready for when the Brewers might need him.
I'm sure it's obviously nice and good for business when you have a top prospect that is not going to be here very long, and so you want to get people to come out and see him. But with a team as young as the Sounds are, especially with I was looking through, I don't think anybody except for maybe one guy in the infield or a hitter is on the 40-man roster right now.
Yeah.
Is that kind of cool to see, where you can watch that true progression as the year goes on, knowing that a guy is probably going to spend a good chunk, if not the whole season here?
No doubt. I mean, we were talking before you jumped on, like, the 16 of the 28 guys on the opening day roster are 25 years or younger.
Yeah.
Now, some of those have a little bit of major league time or a little bit of AAA time, but a number of them are brand new to this level for the first time. Yet, because of, like, what you mentioned, where only one position player right now, Tyler Black, is on the 40-man roster, Black would probably be the first guy they would call up if they had a need, but it also depends on the position. And all of a sudden, you've got a guy who's brand new to AAA that tomorrow could still get called up to the big leagues. And it's this dynamic we were talking about, like Rick Sweet brought it up to me the other day. They've got to be patient, they being the Brewers and Sweet and the coaching staff. They've got to be patient with a young roster. It might take a little bit of time for some of these guys to kind of figure out AAA, but there's also an urgency of making sure they're ready, because if you're at AAA, that means the Brewers think tomorrow you could help them if they needed you. So odds are that most of those young players will spend a good amount of the season here, but there's no guarantee. And when there's a need, they'll call up who they think is the most ready, and that could be a guy who's had 2 weeks at AAA, and that's it. And you're expected to perform at the major league level. It's a fun concept at AAA to think that truly these guys any second could get that news that they're going up, and they could have all types of different levels of background and longevity in the game.
We'll have more with the voice of the Sounds, Jeff Him, coming up next, live from First Horizon Park. It's opening day here on Chasing Big Joe, 102.5 The Game. Of course. Jason Big Joe, 102.5 The Game. Nick Frazier in for Big Joe. You've heard this a time or two.
I have heard it a time or two. And the funny, the beginning, you wouldn't know it's like a Cubs song. Just, talking about opening day or baseball season. And
the late Steve Goodman.
Yep.
With Go Cubs Go. And Jeff Him is with us, voice of the Sounds. And I will tell you, the first time I got to hear this in Wrigley after a win and everybody's holding up the W, it is pretty cool. Like,
when you get 39,000 people singing anything together, it's why we all love to go to like live concerts, because everybody sings and the words, and there's just that community effect. So I agree with you. It's funny, like, the last year the Brewers and Cubs met in the postseason, and I've got a family of Cubs fans and a lot of extended family in the Chicago area still, but like, I feel like I cover the Brewers. I certainly cover a level of the Brewers here with the Sounds. And I had people in my family like surprised that I was rooting for the Brewers in the season last year. The Cubs, I'm like, I know all these guys. Like, these guys are some of my friends. You can't work in this game and be around a team and an organization and not become a fan. So I was that Brewers roster even today is like, 85% former Sounds. So I didn't, when we were an A's affiliate, I didn't pretend to be from Oakland, but I still root for Matt Olson, and like, you get to know some of those people. And then we were a Rangers affiliate, and when they won the World Series a couple of years ago, I was really happy for a lot of people in the Rangers organization. So like, I'm not going to claim that I'm from Milwaukee and have been a decades-long Brewers fan, but doing what I do and being around who I'm around, like, I was all in on the Brewers last year. I follow them far more than the Cubs. Your fandom just changes the longer you work in the game, and the longer I live here. Longer I go without living in Chicago area. So just hearing that song, it's like I'm thinking of like 12-year-old me, not 30-year-old me.
It is kind of crazy to think. So since you've been with the Sounds, you've been bookend by the Brewers, and then as you mentioned, the A's, the Rangers. And that's it, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Those three.
Yeah. 16 of the last 21 Sounds seasons, they've been a Brewers affiliate.
Yeah.
They're the 5 years in the middle with the A's and the Rangers.
I remember growing up, obviously going to Old Greer Stadium to watch the Sounds play. My dad and I went, and it was like a random Wednesday or Thursday night, and there was hardly anybody in the stands to start the game. They're playing the I-Cubs, and this was before Twitter and all that stuff. And quickly people realize who was in the lineup for the I-Cubs on a rehab assignment. We're talking about that. Some guy named Sosa.
Oh, boy.
That place you couldn't, like, by the end of the game, it was packed.
Yeah.
Because word got out that, hey, Sosa's playing.
Wow.
And
that's cool.
That was those were the kind of the cool days. You've seen, we asked Sweetie about this earlier. You've seen the ABS and different variants of the robo-umps, as we would jokingly call them, to the challenge system that is now in the major leagues starting this year.
Yeah.
You and I were talking before the show of you like it. The human element is still there, but it also gives you the technology to make sure the call is right. But there's a strategy to it. How have you seen the strategy evolve in AAA and what fans are going to see in the majors this year?
Yeah, and I don't just like it. I love it. I don't think there's a negative with it. I mean, it's quick. The strategy component.
You tap your head and they look at it.
And you win your challenge, you keep it, which side tangent, college basketball needs to adopt that. If you win a challenge, you shouldn't lose a timeout for it. But like, there's no negative. It plays up on the video board. Everybody can see it. You can see it on television. You can see it in the stadium. Everybody's on the same page. It also proves most of the time, even when a call is overturned and the umpire was wrong, to me, it still underscores how good the umpires are 99% of the time. I mean, you see, oh, wow, it just missed by like 0.3 inches. And you're like, okay, that's not much in the
or an inch if you're Buckner.
Well, again, and those examples are going to go viral and all that. But like, and the Angel Hernandez memes and all that. But like, the bottom line is the umpires, I talked to some over the last several years, the umpires like it too. They might take some getting used to for big league umpires who've never been a part of it until this year, but even if they get overturned a few times in a game, guess what? When the game ends and there wasn't some huge controversy, no one really remembers.
Right.
Versus they would if there was some egregious call with no sort of recourse, and that's all we're talking about for the next 24 hours. And you'd certainly hate to end a postseason game on that kind of controversy. So it helps the umpires. It's good for the umpires. It's good for the fan. It's good for the players. They like the human element. Your question about the strategy, having only 2 challenges instead of 3, which we had 3 at our level a couple of years ago, that is a massive difference, because if you have 2, the players and coaches and managers kind of look at it as, okay, we only have 1, because they don't want to run out. Because if you run out early in the game and you have no recourse, you could argue some umpires in the back of their mind might factor that in, knowing there's nothing you can do about it no matter how I call my strike zone. I'm not saying they would make bad calls on purpose, but there's a freedom that could come with that the teams don't want to allow the umpires to have. So the strategy component is like, look, first inning, 2 outs, bases empty, you, the batter, might feel like you got hosed. It's in your best interest to let it go.
Yeah.
8th inning, bases loaded, 1-run game, wildly different than first inning, 2 outs, nobody on. So the players down here have had to learn to have some discipline with it and a little bit of feel, because that request has to come so quickly that I would think as a player, it's really easy to think like, okay, yeah, we got nobody on, like, I'm going to let it, like, in the moment you're like, no, that call was wrong, I want to challenge it. And before you know it, you've burned one of your team's challenges in the 2nd inning, and you just don't get that much time to consider all the factors. So it'll be interesting at the major league level if they actually have rules within the clubhouse of, hey, don't challenge before the 5th inning, or don't challenge unless multiple runners are on base, because you can run out of them very quickly. And then that's on you. It's not on the umpire, no matter what the umpire might do later in the game.
Is baseball at the best point that it has been since you've been involved in the game, with the advent of the pitch clock, the pace of play, which desperately, we all know it needed.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember starting my career producing games with you. I mean, we'd be there for 4 hours, with some of these games.
Yeah.
And it just, that's not healthy. So do you feel like it's at its best point, its healthiest point that it's been in a long time?
I do. I think the product is as good as it's been. Because what the pitch clocks have done, and the fear was, oh my gosh, everything's going to be so sped up, it'll be a 1-0 game all the time. The offense is still there. It just cuts out the little 5 seconds here, 7 seconds here. The Nomar adjusting the batting gloves after every pitch, like that's what it cuts out. And those little chunks of time add up. And by the end of the night, you're like, wow, that was a 2-hour and 34-minute game that would have been a 3-hour, 11-minute game in the past. But the drama was there, the high scoring was there. So I think the product is as good as it's ever been. I think and MLB, to their credit, has instituted a lot of what I think are good improvements. Pitch clocks, the challenges, banning the shift, I think is a good thing. Just the game had gotten to a point where it was, just a given. The second baseman's in shallow right, and then you're going for a homer or a strikeout. They're trying to increase the running game, and the Sounds and Brewers run the bases as aggressively as anybody. That's fun to watch from a fan standpoint. So I think all of it is good, and it's never been harder to hit a baseball than it is right now, because the velocity is greater than it's ever been, and the movement is greater than it's ever been. So MLB, I think, is doing what it can within reason to try to level it out a little bit and just overall improve the product. I do think it's about as healthy as it's been.
Yeah, Jeff Him's online here with us here at
Live and in living color.
Muscle memory, here at First Horizon Park. But adding on to the conversation about that, watching a lot of the MLB games from last week up to today, there's a pop in the crowd. You can hear it when they do a reverse call of the ABS. And to me, it's no longer a social outing for a baseball game. You actually get engaged with the game from that ABS review.
Yeah.
So I think it just changes the trajectory. And again, you're absolutely right, Jeff, that the momentum of the game has never been better.
It's a great point, because as I was rattling off all the positives of the challenge system, another one is not just the strategy, it's the drama of it. The anticipation, was this, we've seen a couple of really late game, like game-changing challenges here with the Sounds the last couple of years. A strikeout in the 9th inning. Wait a minute, was it a strikeout? No, it's ball 4. And like the crowd gets into it because they can see it all. And you see the thing coming in like you do in tennis. Was it on the line or not? And there's anticipation. It's like the perfect level of time of like between the challenge and the visual of where the pitch was. It's not that long, but it's long enough that you're like waiting for it and you're engaged to see how it plays out. The drama, the strategy, the little bit of time that it takes, I think the challenge system is great. And then we all see it, we move on. Nobody's like still mad at the umpire. And again, like at this level, I want to say it's been like 53, 54% over the last few years. The umpire was right. The player was incorrect on the challenges. Umpires are really good. They're human. They will make mistakes. They do make mistakes like we all do. But if you are strategic with your challenges, there is recourse. And at the end of the day, the umpire is not the story after the game of deciding the game because the team either had a challenge or, hey, you had your chances and you blew your challenges earlier, hang with them.
Yeah, and also, too, for people that are baseball fans like all of us here, it's adding another element to the broadcast to it. I know for you, you're probably thinking, is it there? You can add a little bit more, ad-lib to it. And I think that's what makes baseball so great in today's element is that you can be a little more fun with the broadcast.
And when the pitch clocks first started, I remember feeling it on the broadcast of like, I have no time to even get the sponsor reads. Those first few games were like 2 hours and 8 minutes. Well, the pitchers especially realized, okay, that 25-second clock is more time than I thought it was. And so that has leveled out too, where I think there's the perfect amount of time in between pitches. And baseball broadcasting, as we all know, is like this great storytelling medium and kind of it can be on in the background and it's your companion and all that. And all that is not untrue. But the product, I think, on a radio broadcast and television broadcast and at the ballpark is a better product with the pitch clocks. Because, yes, I might have to be a little quicker with the story between pitches or the sponsor reads or something like that. But that's a good thing because the next piece of action is about to come. And that's what we're all there for at the end of the day is the action. So it's changed how you have to broadcast it a little bit. You've got to be readier. But that's good. That's a good thing. That's on me, the broadcaster, and we, the broadcasters, to figure out. That's not a negative. That was just an adjustment that the pitch clocks created. But it's a better product. It makes you, the fan at the game, think like, well, our guy's leading off the next inning. Like, we better be a little quicker to go get our hot dog or go get the beer or go use the restroom. And, like, that's a good thing for a fan to not have these, well, we got 20 minutes before he's going to bat. Like, that's all good.
And another thing I have real quick, Chase, is about the pitching staff. This last one for me to go to him. When it comes to this pitching staff for the Nashville Sounds, Rick Sweet has talked about a lot of pitchers want to come to Milwaukee's organization to just re-energize their career, or if they're young players, they want to try to figure out something. What do you see out of this pitching staff going into 2026?
Yeah, I think the Brewers are as good as anybody at maybe taking a pitcher from another organization who it didn't work out there for whatever reason, and they see something, whether it's a grip, whether it's a pitch, whether it's mechanical, whether it's just a mental freedom for that guy to go somewhere else. The Brewers do a really good job of taking what you do best as a pitcher and making that better instead of saying, I know you've been overhand. Guess what? You're a side armor now.
Yeah.
They don't want to overhaul you. They just want to enhance what you do best. And this is a really young Sounds pitching staff. I mean, the Brewers have the luxury of knowing that, God forbid they really get tested on their depth this year with injuries. They've got 3, 4, 7, 8 guys who are like ready today on the Sounds pitching staff to go help them, whether that's a start, whether that's a month, whether it's the rest of the season, to get through, because all these teams know they're going to need 45, maybe 50 guys to play for them at the major league level by the end of the year. You have to have that depth, and depth is not just we have a lot of bodies at AAA. Depth is we have guys at AAA who can come help us not miss a beat at the big league level. Right. That's where the Brewers are as skillful as anybody.
It'll be fun seeing Garrett Stallings, who played at the University of Tennessee.
Yeah, we got a former Vol. He's out of the bullpen right now. He was our pitcher of the year last season. You talk about like willing to do whatever it took for the staff. Yeah, he was great last season and expected to have a crucial role again this year. Yeah.
Jeff, always good to see you. We'll be listening tonight at 6:20 and every night this week on 94.9 The Fan. as Sounds Baseball is back.
Appreciate you guys. We look forward to seeing everybody at the ballpark this week and all season long, too.
Absolutely. Well, more coming here from First Horizon Park here on 102.5 The Game. Chasing Big Joe, 102.5 The Game on this Tuesday. Little best in the world here from First Horizon Park. He's Nick Frazier, Chase McCabe, Brandon Bigsby, a.k.a. Brando, back at the studio. Our buddy Mike Schmitto texted in and said he saw Randy Johnson threw a no-hitter, yet lost the game one night at Greer Stadium to the Sounds, and then Jack Armstrong threw a no-hitter for the Sounds the next night. So that was probably, what, late 80s? Because when Randy was coming up with the Expos?
Yeah, it had to have been.
Yeah. That's cool. I mean, just think about seeing Randy Johnson.
You know, last night in the Arizona Cardinals game, Arizona Diamondbacks, you know where my head's at right now.
Yep.
Michael Soroka, former Atlanta Brave, had an immaculate inning.
Did he really?
He did.
Yeah.
And it said it was the first time since Randy Johnson.
Wow. Oh, for the Diamondbacks?
For the Diamondbacks,
yeah,
yes.
That's pretty cool.
So that was pretty interesting.
Can you name every team that Johnson pitched for?
Oh, boy. Let's go Expos.
One.
Obviously the Diamondbacks.
Yep.
Oakland?
Nope.
No.
You're missing. There's a big one.
There's a big one.
In between the Expos and – well, there's two between the Expos and the Diamondbacks, but a big one.
East Coast or West Coast?
West Coast.
Oh, the Angels or
Nope.
Dodgers?
Nope.
Neither.
Mariners. Expos, Mariners, 1 year with the Astros,
Oh,
which I totally forgot
yeah.
about.
Totally forgot about the Mariners. My goodness.
Then Diamondbacks, the Yankees, back to the Diamondbacks, and then ended his career with the Giants.
Yeah, that was in 02, right? 03?
09.
09.
Yeah. He pitched the 80s, the 90s, and the 2000s.
His Cy Young years, he had 3 consecutive. I think Tarek Skubel's working on that. That was, 99, 2000, and 01? I believe that's it.
No, if he had 4 straight, 99 to 02. He won his first in 95 with the Mariners, and then won 4 straight with the Diamondbacks.
Big unit, man.
Yeah, big
Unreal.
unit. And then the World Series in 2001. He could hit too.
Yeah, back then the pitchers were hitting.
Yeah.
It's amazing to me looking at the game of baseball how it's evolved into where now you have a universal DH and the pitchers
I miss pitchers hitting.
Yeah.
I miss pitchers hitting. I really loved it.
Clayton Kershaw was a decent hitter. I mean, me being a Cardinals fan, Adam Wainwright could hit a little bit.
Clavin could hit. Maddox wasn't terrible.
The only one we see now is Ohtani, but that's just a different anomaly.
Yeah. I'll be curious if there's another one, now that Ohtani's kind of set the world on fire, which eventually he's going to have to pick. But,
yeah,
I'll be curious if another comes along. We're live at First Horizon Park. DVD will be here coming up here in just a few minutes. But coming up next, we'll tell you what day it is and celebrity birthdays. Chasing Big Joe on a Tuesday, presented by the Omni Nashville Hotel on 102.5 The Game. Chasing Big Joe, 102.5 The Game here on this Tuesday at First Horizon Park. Sounds back in action tonight. Come on out to the ballpark. First pitch at 6:35. Go to NashvilleSounds.com to get your tickets. And, of course, listen on 94.9 The Fan starting at 6:20. He's Nick Frazier. I'm Chase McCabe. And Brandon Bigsby back at the studio. We see some of the players out doing some warm-ups and batting practice right now for the Sounds behind us, which is pretty cool to see. You think you could get in there and take a few swings?
100%. I'm actually itching to just grab a baseball bat and swing a few. I mean, just watching that's fantastic.
What I love that I'm seeing Rick Sweet work on with one of his players is bunting, because the art of bunting to me is just not what it used to be, and I love small ball and bunting being able to get on, which is really cool to see. With that, let's get to what day is it and celebrity birthdays.
All right, first on the list today is Dance Marathon Day. So if you like to get a 1-2 in there, there you go. Eiffel Tower Day is today. Farm Workers Day,
Nice.
Holy Tuesday. International Taco Day. It is Tuesday.
Love some tacos.
So Taco Tuesday. National She's Funny That Way Day. So if you, I guess, whatever. National Bunsen Burner Day. There you go. National Clams on Half Shell Day. Okay. National Crayon Day. There you go. What's your favorite color, Chase?
Blue.
Same here. Good color. National Farm Workers Day. I think that was already there. Okay, it's on here twice. One of them's a national one. National Prom Day. National Tater Day. That might be an option for question of the day. What's your favorite? I'd say tater tots. Loaded tater tots.
Have you ever had tater kegs from our friends at Boom Boss?
No.
Oh, they're fantastic.
Okay.
They're amazing.
So I guess I gotta go to Boom Boss sometime this week.
They're amazing.
And last but definitely not least, World Backup Day. So, back up your information on your computer, stuff like
Mitchell
that.
Trubisky.
Yes.
Yeah,
backup quarterback.
Okay.
It's a lot of backups.
All right. Let's do this again. Brando, you had a nice run yesterday. Let's do some celebrity birthdays.
Let's do it.
Roll.
All right. First on the list, we have actor Christopher Walken.
Need more cowbell.
Indeed.
81.
Okay. Brando?
I'm going to say 85.
83. So that would be a push.
That is a push.
You guys are right down the middle
that
there.
That is a push. Well done.
Guitarist Angus Young, founder of AC/DC.
Brando?
74.
78.
71. You guys are on the opposite side there. Rhea Perlman, actress.
Yeah. 73.
79.
78. Brando's on the
Nice.
board. Okay, next on the list here we have Vice President at one point, Al Gore.
Tennessee's very own Al Gore.
Yes.
Brando, you go.
78.
It's pretty good. We'll go a little younger. 76.
78 on the nose.
Oh, wow.
Brando on the board again, makes it 3-0. Next one is Jack Antonoff. He was a part of that song, We Are Young. We are young. Yeah, that one. So he is the guitarist of that band. How old is Jack, Chase?
What was the name of that band? I'm going to say he is 46.
I'm going to go a little older. Let's go 62.
He is 42, so nobody gets that one. Close, though. Basketball player going to sports here, James Wiseman. Brando, how old is James Wiseman?
25.
He played at Vandy?
Memphis.
I think Memphis, yeah.
Memphis. Yeah, that's right. You say 25. I'll say 26.
He's on the board again, 25 on the nose. Yep.
Okay.
5-0 Brando. Next one, most known for Shirley Partridge, Shirley Jones. How old is Shirley Jones?
77.
82.
92.
Eesh.
Next one, I've never heard of this guy, but we'll go with it. Cash Cobain, rapper, modern day rapper. Chase, how old is Cash Cobain?
42.
27.
28. Brando, 6-0. My goodness.
Getting destroyed today.
Next one on the list, known for his role in Rogue One, Star Wars story in 2016, actor Daniel Mays.
Who's up?
Oh, I'm sorry. You're up. Excuse me. Sorry.
38.
46.
48. Wow, Brando.
Wow.
7-0.
This is-
My goodness. Come on, Chase. You got a few in
I
the
know.
tank. Comedian Kate Micucci.
What?
Micucci. I know in Italian the double C is the sound. So
Okay.
that's
Interesting.
like
Brando,
Christy Yamaguchi.
Brando,
you
you
know?
go.
52.
Pretty close.
50.
46. So
Okay.
not too bad there. I know I pronounced that properly, so I'm just going to go with it.
Okay.
Let's see. Next on the list, another rapper. Never heard of the guy. Pao Fu? What are these names? Are these real people? How old is Pao Fu, Chase? He is a Canadian rapper.
42.
That sounds like something I'd order from P.F. Chang's.
Right.
51.
27. And the last one on the list, oh boy. We have TikTok star, let's see, Mitzi Sanderson. I've never heard of any of these people. What? Okay, Chase, who is Mitzi Sanderson?
76.
24.
25. Brando, I think we understand that you won today. But that's all I got on the
Yeah,
list.
that was well done by Brando.
Maybe an all-timer.
Yeah, that was wow. Did not bring my performance today, but a good time. Nonetheless, appreciate the Sounds for having us out here at First Horizon Park. Again, it's going to be a beautiful night for baseball. Come on out for opening night as the Sounds will take on the Charlotte Knights. I haven't looked at the Charlotte roster to see if there's anyone I recognize. I guess I can do that real fast.
I will be intrigued with the Charlotte Knights this season because if, let's say, Munetaka Murakami ends up having a reassignment or of some sorts for injury, I'll be all over at the ballpark watching that. That guy's a fantastic baseball player.
Lucas Sims used to play for the Braves. He's one. Good Lord, they got a ton of catchers. Nobody that stands out there. Nobody there. True. Yeah, so nobody really. But that's Chad Pinder, who I think was a former Sound, is the manager
Okay.
of Charlotte.
They have one prospect, Sam Antonacci. He played for Team Italy in the WBC.
Yep,
he's a top 50 prospect infield. He's really good. I think he was roughly the batting average was like above 300.
Oh, nice.
So he's a good ball player. We'd like to see what he does, maybe if he plays tonight or not.
That is going to do it for us here today. As a reminder, we guys, girls, we want you here. If you're struggling, it's okay to talk to someone. It's okay to not be okay. Just reach out to our friends at Unity Psych. You can go to unitycares.com/Big Joe and talk to someone because we need you here. Your family needs you here. Your friends need you here. And so we all get it. We go through mental health things and suffering, but you can reach out to them or reach out to us because, as Joe always says, we love you and God loves you. Peace, love, rock and roll. DVD coming your way next here on 102.5 The Game.